A truck sits parked in the dark, right at a highway off-ramp. No streetlights, no signs, just the headlights of other vehicles sweeping past every few minutes. Looking at that scene, most of us would assume the driver inside is living hand-to-mouth, struggling, doing this job only because he has no other financial option. But the truth could be the exact opposite. The person sleeping in that cab could very well be running a business that brings in 6 figures a year in profit and controlling an asset, the very truck he's sitting in, worth up to $500,000. The decision to sleep in the cab, it turns out, has nothing to do with a lack of money. It's the result of a very calculated equation, combining federal safety regulations, mandatory insurance requirements, business profit margins, and an infrastructure crisis that almost nobody outside the industry even knows about. I'm Jake, host of Truckmen. Today, we're going to break down that entire equation. The truth about income. Let's start with the numbers. Company long-haul truck drivers in the U.S. earn an average of about $57,440 a year. The top 10% earn more than $78,800. If they sign on with large private fleets like Walmart, that number jumps to $90,000 to $110,000. Drivers who haul hazardous materials or oversized loads, jobs that require special certifications, earn between $75,000 and $120,000 a year. As for owner-operators, their gross revenue ranges from $150,000 to $350,000, and after operating expenses, their net income still falls somewhere between $80,000 and $180,000 a year. This is not a portrait of poverty. So if it's not about money, then what is it about? The answer lies in the very set of regulations quietly controlling their smallest decisions. Federal Hours of Service Law. The Hours of Service Rule, or HOS, monitors a driver's time budget with almost unbelievable strictness. A driver can drive a maximum of 11 hours only after having taken 10 consecutive hours of rest beforehand. Every activity during the day, driving, fueling up, waiting to load or unload, sitting in traffic, has to fit within a 14-hour window starting from the moment the shift begins. That 14-hour clock never pauses, no matter what you are doing. After accumulating 8 hours of driving, a driver is required to take a break of at least 30 minutes. And each week, they cannot work more than 60 hours in 7 days or 70 hours in 8 days. And once they hit that limit, they are required to take a full 34 consecutive hours off to reset the clock back to zero. And to make sure nobody cheats on these numbers, the trucking industry has a witness that never lies. The black box you can't get around. That is the electronic logging device, or ELD, wired directly into the engine control module. It automatically records engine status, speed, mileage, and hours, and this data can't be edited or deleted at all. The moment the truck hits 5 miles per hour, the ELD immediately switches to driving status. If a driver is out of hours but still tries to push on for a few more minutes to reach a hotel, the system immediately logs an hours of service violation. There is exactly one loophole, called personal conveyance, but the rule only allows it to drive to the nearest safe parking spot, not to a hotel farther away. GPS data cross-checks against a precise 10-mile radius to catch any violation. But the hours of service rules are only half the story. The other half is what makes leaving the truck risky in a way that very few people ever think about. Cargo theft and legal liability. Cargo theft costs the United States economy somewhere between $15 and $35 billion every year. In 2025 alone, losses surged 60%, reaching close to $725 million, while the average value per theft rose 36%, hitting $273,990. Professional thieves typically target the first 200 miles of a trip, using GPS jammers to hide the truck's location, faking pickup paperwork, or running double brokering scams to steal an entire load. Under the Carmack Amendment, the trucking company bears full legal liability if the cargo is lost or damaged. And here's the key point. If a driver chooses to rent a hotel room and leaves the truck unattended in a public lot, what's called the comfort decision, a decision made for comfort, the unattended vehicle exclusion clause in the insurance policy is triggered immediately. If the cargo gets stolen that night, the insurer has the right to deny the claim entirely. By contrast, when a driver chooses to sleep right in the sleeper berth, what's called the custody decision, their physical presence both deters theft and satisfies the continuous cargo protection condition the insurance policy requires. In other words, staying in the truck isn't a sacrifice. It's the only way to avoid having to personally cover a loss out of pocket that could bankrupt them. Now let's talk numbers, because this is the part that turns this decision from something emotional into a clear-cut financial equation. The financial equation. If a driver is away from home 250 nights a year and chooses a standard hotel at $120 a night, that costs $30,000 a year. Over 10 years, that adds up to $300,000 pure expense, with no accumulated asset to show for it. By contrast, the cost of upgrading to a premium cab is around $130,000. Add in maintenance costs, the extra insurance premium, and fuel for the independent generator over 10 years, and the total cost comes to $165,000. That means choosing the premium cab saves the driver as much as $135,000 in cash over 10 years, while still leaving them with an asset that holds resale value. And what does that money actually buy? Step inside and you'll understand right away. The Premium Cab Kingdom. A standard cab runs 72 to 80 inches long with a basic single or double mattress, a battery-powered air conditioner, a compact hidden mini-fridge, and ordinary double-wall soundproofing. But a premium cab, the kind custom-built to order, can run anywhere from 108 to more than 168 inches long. Inside is an entire miniature kingdom. A queen-size bed with a memory foam mattress, its own commercial-grade generator with an independent air conditioning system, a galley with an induction cooktop and a convection oven, a full-size refrigerator, solid hardwood cabinetry, even a private wet bath with a flush toilet, a water heater, and 2 water tanks, all wrapped in the highest grade of multi-layer soundproofing and insulation. But no matter how well appointed the cab is, there's one physical problem money can't solve, and that's the size of the truck itself. The physical disadvantage of hotels. A tractor combined with a standard 53-foot commercial trailer forms a rig that stretches 70 to 72 feet long, roughly 22 meters, 8.5 feet wide, and weighing 80,000 pounds, nearly 40 tons. Very few hotels have turning radii wide enough, pavement strong enough to bear that load, and clearance high enough to avoid canopy overhangs. Trying to detour off the main route to find a hotel creates a significant rest deficit. An average of 56 minutes a day just spent finding a safe parking spot before the clock runs out. Add in check-in time and carrying bags, and the whole process can eat up 1.5 to 2 hours out of their mandatory 10-hour rest period. But there's a reason that runs deeper than money and logistics, a human reason. Psychology and culture. Long-haul driving is an extremely mentally exhausting job, and a deeply isolating one. For many drivers, the sleeper berth is a familiar, safe sanctuary, a place where they sleep in their own bed, cook their own food, and don't have to worry about cleanliness or bed bugs at cheap roadside motels. Truck stops also provide an entire community infrastructure, laundry machines, commercial showers, and a social network of fellow drivers in the same situation, helping to ease some of the loneliness of life on the highway. But the story doesn't end with the driver. Their sleep, it turns out, reaches all the way into your own refrigerator. The supply chain connection. For you to get fresh strawberries in the middle of winter, produced shipments have to travel in refrigerated trailers with tightly controlled temperatures. Drivers have to calculate their hours of service time budget down to the hour to make sure the load reaches the distribution center before it starts to spoil. For e-commerce orders from Amazon or Walmart, the entire cross-docking network depends on near-perfect punctuality. All it takes is one driver running late because they were struggling to find parking, and the entire delivery chain behind them can fall apart. And on a national scale, this problem is turning into a genuine crisis. A nationwide parking crisis. The current ratio is 11 drivers competing for every one legal parking spot. Every day, about 2.4 million drivers need a place to park, but the entire country has fewer than 700,000 spots, a shortfall of up to 1.7 million spots a day. When the hours of service clock runs out and every lot is already full, about 70% of drivers are forced to park in places that aren't allowed. Every year, roughly 2.2 million trucks end up parked on shoulders or highway ramps, 300,000 of those overnight. A 40-ton machine sitting just a few inches from the travel lane, damaging the road's structure and creating a deadly collision risk for every other vehicle on the road. A driver's sleep, it turns out, was never just their own personal matter. So next time you see a truck parked in the dark at a highway off-ramp, remember, that's not a picture of a desperate life. It could be a six-figure business, operating in strict compliance with federal law, insurance requirements, and a financial equation that the person living it has worked out far more carefully than anyone looking in from the outside ever could. In other words, that's not a compromise forced by circumstance. It's a custody decision, not a comfort decision. And that exact distinction is quietly what keeps America's entire supply chain running smoothly every single night. If you're an actual driver running these roads, how do you work out this cab versus hotel equation in real life? And if you've never sat behind the wheel of a truck, were you surprised to learn that a driver's sleep is directly connected to that box of strawberries or the package you're getting tomorrow? Drop a comment below. I read every single one. Don't forget to subscribe to Truckmen for more videos like this. See you all on the next stretch of road.